Hey everyone, it's been a year since my last YouTube video, so I thought I'd make a little update for you all, just to share a little success story, I suppose, one of many hopefully. So in January of this year, I made a profit of 72% on my FTMO accounts, yeah, because I had two at the time, accounts, and produced a profit of $116,000, which is mind-blowing amount of money, especially because it's one of the first big payouts I've got from a prop firm. So I actually got screenshots of myself and other members of the GT community on the FTMO leaderboards, which was really cool. So on the global leaderboards, the top 5 were all in guerrilla trading, along with Christopher and Marco, who I think are also in GT. And on the 100k leaderboards, I was actually 1st and 6th, which was awesome. You can imagine this trade just kept going and going and going, and I kept taking screenshots to try and capture, because I wasn't sure when it was going to end, so I kept taking screenshots every day, trying to keep up with the trade moving. So I'm in the client area now, so you guys can actually see the 2 accounts that actually produced this profit. So these are the 2 accounts that I was trading in January at the time. So you can see here is the first one. Made a profit of 68,000. Here's all the trades I took. December was actually a losing month, but January worked out. The second account, here we are, 40,000. There you go. Now to the fun part, the trades I actually took to make this profit on the FTMO account. So the first one was an EJ reversal, and at this point I was only risking 0.5% on the account. So thanks to this trade, I was then able to do the full 1% risk on the following trades. The reason I was doing 0.5% was because I don't want to risk the full 1% until I have a 10% buffer, just to allow for at least 15-20 losses, just for my own personal comfort. So yeah, this trade actually only really made 12.5% on the FTMO accounts because it was 0.5% risk, but that is what then allowed me to risk full 1%. So this was probably one of the cleanest reversals I've ever taken, but of course they don't always work out. Just because a trade is picture perfect doesn't mean it's going to be a winning trade. It does increase the probability if there's no warning signs, but doesn't mean it's always going to work out, so you've got to have that open mind. And in fact, after this candle right here, I was pretty convinced that it was just going to take us out, because that's quite a big shift in momentum, and there's a bit of a slowdown here too, so a bit of a slowdown, shift in momentum. I just thought the next candle was going to do this and we'd continue ascending, to be honest. The reason I say that this was picture perfect is because we were breaking and retracing highs perfectly without breaking any of the lows all the way up here. Breaking, retracing, breaking, retracing, breaking, retracing. Double wicks on top, and then a really nice break of the low. The first break of the low, and an excellent close, big bodied candle. Momentum had clearly shifted. All of the prior candles were telling me that price did not want to go up. It was struggling to move up, and this candle was showing a clear drop to the downside. And you can see I set my order and I was tagged in basically by a millipip, and the next candle came up and rejected at the same place. I held this trade for about 2 days. I held it over the weekend, and I was tagged out on Monday. But yeah, excellent trade. And the next trade was actually a week, the following week, so there's not much gap between these trades. I'll give you my thought process on this one. So I'm seeing a large V here, and usually after a V we see a range and a continuation of the second leg, a bit like a head and shoulders formation. We normally see this after breaking the neckline, I suppose. And when we did break the neckline, what happened? So we broke it with wicks, and then we got this big shift back to the upside. This tells me that price probably doesn't want to continue in the direction of the second leg. And then we actually broke the high and continued. We did get a wick and a range, so a bit of a corrective phase here, but then momentum did return as we broke the high with a really nice candle. Kind of got a pullback, but the next candle showed no shift in momentum, and then we continued higher with 2 really nice candles. So at this point I'm seeing an established trend. I'd call this an established trend, one of these. That's what I'm seeing here, and I want price to come back, tap me in, and continue. So I didn't set my order initially because I don't think I wanted one candle to come all the way back, because that would have shown a bit of a shift in momentum. But on EJ, I'm more likely to tolerate this kind of setup. It's a pair characteristic for EJ to sometimes it just comes back with a really aggressive retrace and moves straight back up. So now I probably would have set my order straight after this candle. I think maybe I was a bit worried about a wick and an aggressive retrace, because that would have been 2 warning signs. So after this next candle showed me no shift and pulled back with a bit of a wick on the bottom, I was willing to set my order, and then this trade did the same thing. Now consider at this point I'm 23. I've never worked a job. This is what I've done straight out of uni, and at the moment this trade is running at about maybe $15,000 in profit. And Friday evening I was thinking, God, should I close this? Because I could really use that money right now, especially after a year of trading an FTMO account and basically doing the break-even dance. So I was really close to closing this trade. And there's another trade which I actually took at the exact same time. So this trade and the one I'm going to show you in a second, I was really considering closing them and just taking the money, because between them I think I must have been up about 30 grand. Anyway, in the end I decided to hold it over the weekend, and it did work out, thankfully. I took the risk. You can imagine for these last few hours of the day I was really thinking about it, but I stuck to my rules. I still have never closed a trade early. And then Monday morning there was this huge shift in momentum, so I was like, okay, well, it's gonna come back now, and it just didn't. It just broke the high, allowing me to lock in more profit just below this low, and allowed me to make 17% profit on this trade. So between these two trades, 25% and 17% profit. So the next two trades I took were on AJ. You can see it's very similar setup to EJ, with the big V here. And I think, as you can tell, this is the big boy that took us to the FTMO leaderboards. There's not much really going in prior price action for this trade. You could say it's a bit of a false breakout. Quite often when we're getting a range like this over here, this is very range bound, we'll get a false breakout, and then momentum will build to the upside like this. This is very common, especially if there's a shift in momentum here. There wasn't really, but normally at the bottom of a big move, if you see a shift in momentum or a slowdown, this happens often on JPY, on a lot of pairs really, especially the euro, but happens on JPY pairs sometimes too. So you can see at the bottom here, we got a slowdown, price broke and retraced the low, and then we started to kind of build this corrective trend, which is quite common on the Aussie pairs. We broke the high. I'm expecting price to reject, because that's what we've been doing. We've been breaking, rejecting, but price actually continued with a really nice close. So I was like, okay, momentum is in the market. What's going to happen next? We got a wick showing me a slowdown. I'm expecting a range or a reversal after this wick, but what happened? We got a tiny candle. Momentum couldn't be pulled back at all. They tried to pull it back. This is all they could do, and then we broke the high again. I was thinking, okay, we're broken above this wick. Next candle is likely to retrace, but if we continue, I'll be looking for a continuation, because at this point I'm seeing an established trend. 2 legs of momentum, small pullback. Nothing wrong with that trade at all. This is just a classic continuation. We got the wick on top, but the retrace wasn't as big as EJ. I said on EJ, I didn't want as much of an aggressive retrace with the wick, but on this pair, it didn't have to retrace as much, so I was willing to set my order straight away. And the next candle, barely pulled back, favorable wick. Left my order on, tagged in by a wick, and price just skyrocketed. Now, exactly the same scenario on Friday. I had these 2 trades running, and I decided to leave them running. Not to close them early, and there was actually a scale in that I managed to take on Monday. I won't take it back. So this is another continuation setup. It didn't break by much, but the reason I was willing to take it, firstly, it's a scale in, secondly, it's got a really nice pullback candle, and this first leg here is excellent, and we're in a trending market. So we're in a trending market, we've got a really nice first leg. The pullback is very favorable because it's still basically moving up. It's basically all still one leg, and then the next candle continued. So although momentum wasn't really there in that candle, everything else was going for it. The market phase, all the confluences, the pair characteristics, So the fact that it had a week break wasn't going to stop me, especially as a scale in. And you can see the next candle tagged me in and continued up. And this trade just kept on going. Eventually it did get a little bit ridiculous. I was thinking, surely this is illegal. It's just too good to be true, especially at the top when I know that I've got $100,000 locked in. So yeah, there you go. February, March, April and May has been the slowest trading period for me ever, probably to make up for how good January was, right? I still managed to squeeze an extra 400k funding in that period with my Forex funds and 5%ers, and with all the money I've got now, I'm just pouring it into challenges. So every time I pass a phase, I'm buying another challenge. So as soon as I get a challenge from phase 1 to phase 2, I'm starting another phase 1 somewhere else. And as soon as I pass this one is starting coming to phase 2 and I'm getting another challenge. So I am just building and building and building. And that's where I'm at now. So for those of you who were watching me a year ago when I uploaded my last video and passed my first FTMO challenge, you'll notice that the backdrop's a little bit different, a little bit more feminine, you could say. And that's because as soon as I passed that FTMO, I moved to live in London with my girlfriend. So I'm living with her and her family at the moment. And I'll probably move back to Wales next year, but we'll be buying our own house. And Forex will be paying for all of it, I hope. So I'm not going to be uploading regularly. I just thought I'd make this little update because it's pretty cool, you know? It's been a year since my last video, and in that year, first year of FTMO trading, I made all of my money in one payout, essentially. So I'll make a video here and there. Let me know what you like to see. You can contact me with the links in the description. Like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.